I don't share a bunk bed with my brother anymore. We don't even sleep in the same room, the one with the curtains we put together years ago, tiny little silvery stars and rockets. Those curtains are gone now, though. The last time I saw them was when our mum snatched what was left of them off the carpet and crammed them into the bin. Like they were poisonous. Maybe they were. It's always here, around corners and under blankets, and creepy through the gaps in doors. It's in the cold that clings to every hair, no matter how far it has to follow, and people don't like seeing reminders of it lying around. Even the stuff that has what they call bad energy, the something that prickles at the back of the neck and throttles the heartbeat, that has to be tossed away, or destroyed. Well, sometimes. There's a lot of it they haven't noticed yet, or so my friend tells me. My brother's already demolishing the peanut butter when I trudge into the kitchen. He just about manages a grunt of greeting through his ballooning cheeks. Mum's head jerks at the sight of me, gaping at something on my front, and I slam my gaze in the same direction. Oh, right. My pyjama shirt is hanging off my shoulders, looking a lot more like a cast-off than something that was just bought a week or two ago. She heaves a very motherish sound through her nose when she doesn't spot any injuries on me. This is the 4th time you come down looking at that now. If that's how you treat the clothes I buy you. She doesn't finish. It's not like I can help it. We were just playing a game, that's all. I say nothing. She goes through the usual, tugging a navy blue blazer, stripy tie, 2 long greyish trousers, porridge-coloured socks, 3 of the knotty mass brimming in the dryer, and tossing them in my direction, sends me back upstairs to my new smaller room to change clothes, advising me not to show my face in the kitchen again until I made myself decent. In plotting my way across the landing to that new bedroom, I pass the door to the old one, off-white, faintly sheeny, shut tight. I spare a few seconds of thought to whatever happened to our bunk bed, mine and Elliot's. Don't think I'll ever find out though. Our mother's let the door handle go neglected and gather as much dust as possible. That way, if either of us touch it, she'll be able to tell. It scares me more than once that I could just prod the door open with my foot without messing with a genius trap, but I've never acted on it. Walls have eyes and ears. The new room was alright considering. Elliot volunteered for sofa duty, in his words, so I've got it to myself, but it doesn't really feel like mine anymore. Plain yellowish white curtains now, matching carpet, my books stacked in sloppy heaps instead of arranged on shelves. But it is mine, and I'm gonna have to get used to it. At the very least, it's the closest thing I have to my own safe hideaway. Wonder if that's what all those others thought too, once upon a time. My friend likes it in here. It's dark and I keep it that way. Lights switched off, curtains pulled too, never a torch beam or even a lit candle to swipe aside the shadows. Mum doesn't really like it when we have our curtains hanging open anyway. Not since all this happened. Actually, right now, she probably doesn't want me or my friend touching any in the first place. Not that either of us ever set out to rip apart the old ones, the ones with the rockets and comets and constellations stitched all over them. It just sort of happened. They like to play, simple as that. Even when they get carried away, go a bit far, whatever the phrase is. It's fine. Yet my mum never seems to agree that it is. Fine, I mean. I've tried telling her about my friend before, about the events they come up with, but no matter how I put the words together, they collapse on me like a courthouse, running further and further away the more I chase them. And even when they don't, I just slam headfirst into excuses and childish, and more often in the last couple of weeks, no, I'm tired and I don't want to hear it. It stings. By now though, I've learnt to stay quiet and let all the blame drop onto me. A shrug, a side glance, and muttered sorry. Of course my friend never says sorry, but that's fine. She probably won't believe them either. I sling my pyjamas down, the mattress catches them in a raggedy bundle. Not my fault, I didn't mean to, neither of us meant to. A tiny comfort is the knowledge that my friend hates fussy school uniforms as much as I do. even if they don't really understand why it can't just be discarded whenever we feel like it. I heave a breath, watch Kit's mist slowly bellow into the air. Cold. Shadows play in the corner, caught up by the fingers of light forcing their way past the curtains. Part of me, the same part of my heart that my friends have been making themselves at home in since the day I met them, dares them to touch closer. But they don't. They don't. By the time I trudge downstairs, there's a cereal bowl, spoon, and chip-covered juice plonked in front of my chair, even though I haven't liked apple juice since I was about 8. Oh, there you are, finally. Mum tweaks the pile of rags out of my grasp and blows out her cheeks. You know, I was just thinking to Elliot that if the pair of you socialised a bit more, got some friends who live nearby, you could go to school with them every morning instead. My spoon pokes at the cereal. Another thing I can't help. Its texture is just wrong. I do. They just don't want me to go around telling other people about them yet. I peek over at her, but her head, puckered lips and all, is bent over what's left of my pyjamas, turning them back to front and inside out as if counting the holes. She always has her hands and head full with other things, I guess. Especially now. Come on, get that cereal down you before you go. I don't want to have to come and fetch you home if you faint at school. She only shoots me half a glance. The rest of her gets sidetracked by twitching aside the kitchen curtain just enough to push her nose through the gap, but it falls on me like a hot coal all the same. She hates it when I do this, the thing she calls pegging at my food. I swish my spoon around in the bowl, its contents quickly transforming into Rice Krispie paste. It's too soggy, I say dumbly. How else can I explain that cereal doesn't feel or taste right to me anymore? Not when I know there's far better things to devour. My friends show me them. She doesn't deign to reply. Elliot bolts out of the door 12 minutes ahead of me, with a flit of his fingers in reply to our mum's scattery warnings to pay attention, and don't dawdle out there, and get yourself home by 4. By 4, Elliot. Behind their backs, I quietly scrape the remains of my cereal into the bin and embark on a hunt for my shoes. My friend must have moved them from where they were sitting under the radiator to dry out after yesterday's downpour. They do stuff like that. I guess it's their way of venting annoyance, their idea of tiny revenge. Turns out they can't really do a lot unless I'm there with them, though. My hand has only just touched the front door handle when, 4 o'clock sharp, do you hear me? I hear you, I mutter. I'm about to close the door behind me when it's flung shut from the inside, barely avoiding snagging the edge of my blazer. It's okay. Force of habit cranes my neck for a glimpse of Elliot's stringy limbs, or maybe the marmalade-coloured backpack hanging lopsided off his shoulders. Nothing. Nothing except for the mist breathing on my clothes and hair and bleaching what colour's left out of the leaves. And that's alright with me. He only tries to elbow me into hedgerows and signposts whenever I tag along with him. The laces of my beaten-up Oxfords fly out with every step. Sometimes there were splotches of used chewing gum or the muddy drags of puddles. The walk to school takes 40 minutes or so. More if some road or another is taped off. That's been happening here and there, for the same reason that all the news channels are urging the parents not to let the kids out by themselves. To go along with them, look out for them, instead of just hopping on at their rock curfews. I kick out into Pebble sitting right to my path, scuffing my shoe toe even more as I go. 40 minutes each way. She won't come outside of her 4 walls for that long. Not anymore. In any case, there's no one around now. No one to spot me edging my way through the closest thing to an opening to be found in the tangled trees and bushes, sliding down a bank of weeds and moss and slimy leaves, skinning just a little on the fringes of what my neighbours still call the park. The sky could be dressed up in its best shade of blue instead of scribbled in school pencil grey, and it won't make any difference to this place. Most of the footpaths have disappeared under a slush of long dead leaves and scraggly fallen feathers. The sludge-coloured pond a little way ahead smells just like all the litter it's been collecting. And that's probably why it feels as if nobody ever really comes here, not even for the sake of a shortcut. Well, nobody except the pigeons jostling one another for spots on the rusty benches, or on the branches dangling over them. At the same time, though, no one seems sure what to do with it, so here it is, rotting away. And I have it to myself. We have it to ourselves. And they're quiet all the same. That's typical, really. Familiar. I suppose it'd be sort of weird to a lot of people, as if I'd shared the stuff with anyone else to begin with, but neither of us does much chatting. We don't need to. They invent games for us, I join in, and that's how we understand each other. Sometimes. Other times they stray into something I don't want to. Like with those silver curtains. And just like then, I always end up doing it anyhow. It's fine. It's only games. I dig to the stomach from that icy cold fingers, and I realise the sun's conquered more of the sky since I last looked, casting a puddle shadow in front of me. Any time now, or maybe already, the school receptionists are going to try and get hold of my mum so they can quiz her on why I'm not squashed into the back row of the geography classroom. I drop my head against the lumps of the swing chain, rocking along with it as one toe prods an on and off rhythm into the carpet of wood chippings and built-up gunge below. It's okay, her phone's nowhere to be found most of the time, and even if she does happen to have it with her, she hardly ever picks up. It's no different now. Now that the dread of being watched, hunted, is constantly beating itself against this skull. That's what's been happening, or what everybody thinks is happening. Hunts, stalking. People's head foot outside, or just upstairs, or even from one room to another and then never come back. Nobody knows how, nobody knows where or why. No rhyme or reason as to what will be next. The first time a pack of authorities glanced over it, they took it as a standard child abduction case, till word got out that it wasn't just kids who were getting plucked from their homes. And that's why everyone's always on the lookout for bad omens now, for changes in the water and shifts in the air. My cold forehead creases at that thought. But would they recognise things like that even if they spotted them? There's a murmur in my ear as my pen shifts. They swipe at the strands drooping over my forehead, jab at my ribs, tug at my fingers and feet. Hungry for fun. No. Not now. Just not now. I don't want to get attention from anyone because they'll ask why I'm not at school. We don't know who's around and they don't understand. The last few words trip me up. With a shuddery breath, I bring out the only thing I know for sure will get them to be still. For now. They might take you away from me. And there we stay, swaying and swaying with the swings, until the sun starts sinking towards its rest. The dark is one thing, but night sends prickles racing across my skin. A black curtain swallowing the sky, billions of stars glinting in what shades behind the clouds, but none of them making any difference. My friend likes them though. They say their games work much better in the dark. I bid Elliot to mumble good night that he doesn't return. Our mother's already in bed with a cup of her icky organic tea, and plod upstairs. And the shadows follow me. I barely manage to toe my door shut before they, my friend, my only friend, leap like flame, shoving me to my knees. Pain, cold pain, sears through my bones. On my neck, inside my throat, frigid hands silence my cry. Another voice buries the harsh tearing, clothes, skin, flesh. A voice that cracks like dry flesh, and somehow sounds so like mine anyway. But it can't be mine. It's theirs, the words are theirs, I'm theirs. Let's play. Thank you guys so very much for watching. If you like this story, feel free to check out my writing blog where you can find more, and some other stuff too.